start today with Amar Rav Gidl Amar Rav and Lamed Gimel. Lamed Gimel Lamed Aleph. Amar Rav Gidl Amar Rav. Rav Gidl says in the name of Rav. This is a student of Rav. He's explaining the Machlekes, Rabbi Yochanan, and Rish Lakish. It was a little complex, but it had to do with if an animal dies and it had it was a sacrifice. I want to redeem it. So there was Reb Shimon held that you're not allowed to redeem a sacrifice like that, but he did hold that you're allowed to redeem something similar to that if it would have been consecrated for the temple. That was clear. That was Reb Shimon's shita. The shaila is, what do the Chachamim hold regarding the sacrifice? So that's a machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish, where Rabbi Yochanan said that the Chachamim hold that a sacrifice or bedek habayis was bichlal hamad v'aracha. That meant that it needed to be alive and standing at the time of the evaluation, the assessment of what it's worth. Rish Lakish held that the Rabbanan are exactly the opposite of Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon holds that Kodshim Mizbeach you bury, but Kodshi Bedek Habayis you can still redeem. The Chachamim hold, the Rabbanan hold exactly the opposite. Kodshi Bedek Habayis you bury, and Kodshim Mizbeach you can redeem. So the Gemara asks, my time with the Rish Lakish, what's the reason for Rish Lakish that he's mechalek according to the Rabbanan between Bedek Habayis and Kodshim Mizbeach? According to Rabbi Yochanan, we learned yesterday that he has two verses in Bechukaisai and the parsha over there of Temurah. Over there it said that if it's an animal without a mum that you would bring on as an offering, then so you can redeem it if it has a mum. You can redeem it if it gets a mum. And then the pasuk says if a behema tameya that you can't redeem. So what about that? What happens with that? So we learned from there that Rabbi learned from there that you need to stand the animal up to be able to redeem it. Over here, what's the reason for Rish Lakish? The Amar l'Rabbanan Kodshim Bedek Habayis Haya B'chlal Amad V'aracha Kodshim Mizbeach Lo Haya B'chlal Amad V'aracha. What's the reason for Rish Lakish that makes this division? Bedek Habayis, more strict, needs to be alive. Kodshim Mizbeach could be more lenient. You could redeem it even after it's dead. The Amar Kra, he says, the pasuk says V'herach HaKayin Isa Bein Toiv U'Bein Ra. The Kayin will evaluate. Now, Bein Toiv Bein Ra means whether it's good or bad. Now, what is an item or a scenario where there is no difference between Taiv and Ra? It can't be a sacrifice, right? Sacrifice, there's a big difference to Taiv and Ra. If it has a mum or it doesn't have a mum, it must be talking about Bedek Habayis. So where is the din of Hamada Varacha V'herech HaKayin? The Kayin stands it up, the Kayin evaluates. Where is that? That's only where there's no difference between Taiv and Ra, and that's Bedek Habayis, because Bedek Habayis, a temple fund, I can consecrate a piece of wood, I can consecrate an animal without a mum, with a mum with a mum, without a mum could turn into a sacrifice, but over there's no difference what I'm doing. It's all give it to the temple fund. V'amar Kra, and the pasuk says, Isa, only it. And here's the key point, and that's Lamute Kodshim Mizbeach. By Kodshim Mizbeach, I don't need Amad V'aracha, and this is a leniency in the Rabbanan's opinion, according to Rish Lakish, that I can redeem an animal even after it's dead.
He has a point.
He has a point. Rabbi Yochanan, it's such a strong question, it's such a strong point that the Gemara returns back. It says, Rabbi Yochanan, I saw Lamute Mai. Rabbi Yochanan, Rish Lakish seems correct. What is the Isa doing according to Rabbi Yochanan? Because he says both of them have the rule of Hamad V'aracha. He says Amuti Balmum Mikari. Yochanan says that if it was a Balmum before you even consecrated it, then that's a different story. Then you could redeem it even after it dies. Because it never got that status, that full status of. No, one second. L'ma'ute balmumi karai. L'ma'ute balmumi karai would tell me. Lo yahya b'chlal amadav aracha, and therefore you could redeem it. Yes, correct. Therefore you could redeem it.
In Rish Lakish.
Rish Lakish would agree with that as well. Everyone agrees. Everyone would agree with that.
So he's just like one step lower than Rish Lakish, in a sense. We're all agreeing to this point.
Right. The only difference would be Kachim Mizbeach, where Rabbi Yochanan is more strict. He says he can't do it. Latana de Beilevi, Damarfil Dafil Balmami Karai B'chlal Amadav Aracha. Beilevi was very, very strict there. They said that even a Balmumi Karai, even if you consecrated an animal that already had a mum, in order to redeem it, it needs to be alive and standing. Tani Levi taught. Tani Levi, it's a brayso. Hakol Hayu B'chlal Rabbi Shubin Levi we have in the brayso as well. So Levi for sure is a Tana. Sure, but the brayso could have an early generation Amir as well. Tani Levi Hakol Hayu B'chlal Amadav Aracha. Levi taught that everything was included in Hamadav Aracha, V'afilu Balmum Mikari, even if it's started off as a Balmum before it was consecrated. V'chein Tani Levi b'masnisa, and Levi taught this in a brayso as well. I guess another brayso. V'afilu Chayev, V'afilu Oif. No, he also taught in the brayso that even if it's such a Balmum that it's totally not eligible to go on the altar, not just because it has a blemish, but because it was a deer or it was because some other bird that doesn't go on the altar anyway, or it has no pidyon. A bird usually doesn't have, but it's talking about birds like chickens or geese that they don't go on the altar anyway. Even those need to be be able to be standing at the time of the redemption. The Gemara asks, but for Levi, v'haksiv Isa. But it says Isa. It has to be Mayat something. It has to be excluding something. Where says Kasha? We leave it as a question. Remember yesterday we had, 2 days ago, we had Gamla Beisil Kasha. Remember that? We had Gamla Beisil Kasha. Here we have a Kasha for Levi Isa. Rav Yehuda Marav. Rav Yehuda says the name of Rav. So let's just show who we're quoting here. We're discussing the Machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish, these are early Amiram in Eretz Yisrael. We were explaining it according to Rav Gidl Amarav. Here's Rav, and we have Rav Gidl right over there. And we mentioned Levi, who's much earlier. Levi is Rabbi Shub and Levi's father here on the chart. And now we're going to Rav Yehuda Amarav. Here we have Rav and Rav Yehuda. Another statement. Who explained Rabbi Yochanan yesterday? We didn't have a name associated with that. Okay, so explaining Rish Lakish was Rav Gidl Amarav. Explaining Reb Shimon is going to be Rav Yehuda Amarav. Reb Shimon is going back a step. This was all a machlekes, the Rabbanan and Reb Shimon. There was a machlekes, Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. What's the opinion of the Rabbanan? Now let's go back to the other side, to Reb Shimon. The Amar, Reb Shimon held, Kachi Mizbeach, Hayu B'chlal Amad V'aracha, Kachi Bet Kavayis Lei Hayu. Things that go to the Mizbeach need to be standing they need to be alive to redeem them. Things that go to the temple don't need to be. And in our Mishnah, the way he worded it was, Kachi Bed Kabayas and Mesu Yiftu. That was Reb Shimon's words. If it's Bed Kabayas, if it dies, you can still redeem it. If it's going to the temple fund. Only sacrifices need to be alive at the redemption. The Amar Kras, so he learns from the pasuk. It says, "V'herach hakayin Isa." The kayin, it's the same pasuk. The kayin will evaluate it. Bein taiv v'bein ra. It's very familiar, right? This was the one Rish Lakish said. Rish Lakish says, "Oh, what's the thing that has no difference? Must be bedek habayis." But Reb Shimon does exactly the opposite. He says, "Eze davar shecholak bein taiv v'bein ra." What is the thing where you have to mention that it does have a difference between bad and good? Haviyomer said Kachim Mizbeach. Does exactly the opposite. He says it's things that go on the altar. That's where you have to mention Toiv Ben Ra. V'amar Kra Isa Lamute Bedek Abayis. The pasuk says Isa. He does exactly what we understood from Rish Lakish, exactly the opposite. The Gemara asks, Ihachi Bein Toiv L'Rami Ba'ilei. See, the word Bein is very difficult to translate when you're trying to translate word by word. Bein this, Bein that. Bein.
It's like between.
Let's do between. Let's say it means between. Between means to differentiate between, right. Distinguish between. So, if I want to say to distinguish between, I don't say Hamavdel ben kodesh ben chol.
So you only have to use it once.
Right? I only use it once, and I'm using it as to distinguish between. To distinguish between, I put the bein between,
right? And
then it's that's the thing. But when it says bein toiv bein ra, that means either, either this or that. It doesn't mean between. Right. So the problem is, according to Reb Shimon, that's trying to say that, according to the way we're explaining Reb Shimon, that bein toiv ra. That what's the weird? We have a difference between toiv and ra. That's only by kachim mizbeach. Should have said bein toiv l'ra, not bein toiv bein ra. Bein toiv l'ra mi ba'ilei. Bein l'ra bein l'toiv. Okay, bein. What was the original pasuk? Bein. The hercha kainai said bein toiv or bein ra. Gemara says kasha. We have another kasha. Bein toiv l'ra after Reb Shimon. Okay, Meisvei. Gemara's going to ask a question on Rabbi Yochanan. Question goes like this. Mesu, if they died, Tmimin, if the animals did not have a mum, then Yikbru, they get buried. Okay, that means there's no redemption. Ubali Mumin, but if they were Bali Mumin, then Yiftu, then they could be redeemed. Who holds that? That a Balmum could be redeemed after it dies. That if it's a Balmum, it could be redeemed. Who holds that you can redeem an animal after it dies? It could be Reb Shimon, or Reb Shimon it can't be Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon holds Kachim Mizbeach. Don't have that. Can't be Reb Shimon.
Where's Reb Shimon?
It can't be Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon holds Bedek Abayis is redeemed. Oh, maybe this is talking about Bedek Abayis. No, we'll see.
In the footnote it says, in the Bais, Reb Shimon states that blemished animals, whether of the altar or of the temple, on keep, may be redeemed when dead.
One second. Hold that. Before you get to that. It must be Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish held that Bedek Abayis needs to be standing to be redeemed, according to the Rabbanan. And Kachim Mizbeach, you could redeem. That's Rish Lakish's opinion. So this is going to introduce a question on Rabbi Yochanan. Okay. When do we say this? B'kachim Mizbeach. Aval b'kachim Bedek Abayis. Bein Tmim, bein Balimum Yikvru. But if it's Bedek Abayis, it needs to be buried. There's no redemption. This is the opinion of the Rabbanan. It's going to be a problem here for Rabbi Yochanan. That Yiptu, or Yipadu, is going to be a problem. Reb Shimon says, Echad kachim mizbeach, vechad kachim bedek abayis, tmimin yikberu, balimumim yiftu. Which means that Reb Shimon also holds that kachim mizbeach you could redeem. That's also going to be an issue. Where did we say that Reb Shimon holds this? Okay. The Gemara starts off like this. We have a brisa. The Gemara starts off with Tiyufta de Rabbi Yochanan Mireisha. First thing is that we have a kasha on Rabbi Yochanan from the beginning, and the kasha, as we mentioned, was where does Rabbi Yochanan have, according to the rabbis, any redemption after the animal dies? If it's kachim mizbeach, there's no redemption there. So Amalach Rabbi Yochanan has an answer. You might remember this. Hacha b'maya skinan, b'balmumi karai. We have an answer. We mentioned that before. That balmumi karai, there is a redemption. If before you consecrated it already had a blemish, it never goes into the full status you'd be able to redeem it. The Gemara says, Hachinam mistabra. It also makes sense to say that that's what we're referring to. If we can really prove this very well, Hachinam mistabra, then it's going to go back and be a kasha on Rish Lakish. Because why didn't Rish Lakish say more than Balmum Meikari? He holds as redemption even by a regular, even if he got the mum later. Hachinam mistabra, the itema, because if we'll say that the mum came after the consecration, it came later, so liflik Reb Shimon Allah. So why doesn't Reb Shimon argue on that? What does Reb Shimon say? Reb Shimon says, Echad kachi mizbeach, v'echad kachi bedek v'asbim yikbru, balimum yiftu. This is balimum yiftu. Oh, very good. We know that Reb Shimon holds that kachi mizbeach does not have a redemption if it dies. Reb Shimon only held bedek habayis. You could redeem it after it dies. And Reb Shimon says, Echad kachi mizbeach, echad kachi bedek habayis tmimim yikbru balimum yiftu. How do you have balimum yiftu according to Reb Shimon? He doesn't hold that. According to everyone, he doesn't hold that. It must be, why does Reb Shimon hold that you can redeem it even after it died? Because it's a balmum meikari. Oh, balmum meikari. Now we understand why the Chachamim say you can redeem it also. It's a balmum meikari. Lifleg Reb Shimon Allah. Let Reb Shimon argue. Alav shema mina bebalmum meikari. We must be dealing with balmum meikari that it started off before you even consecrated it. It had a blemish, and therefore it could be redeemed afterwards, even though it died. Gemara asks now a kasha on Rish Lakish. You proved that so well. Now you left us with the problem the other way. So let this be a strong question on Rish Lakish. The Gemara answers Rish Lakish mukamla b'shekadem ekdesh nesmuma. Rish Lakish says no. Rish Lakish says that we're talking about that it was consecrated and then the mum came later, and that's what it's talking about. Okay, you've only resolved the beginning of the brisa, but ihachi nifleg Reb Shimon Allah. What about Reb Shimon, which Reb Shimon didn't fit when you tried to learn it like that? The Gemara says, Rish Lakish meipach. Rish Lakish learns it, turns it around. V'achim musav la mechilta, and this is how he teaches it from the mechilta. Mechilta achriti, from a different mechilta. The mechilta is used as a medrash on Shemais. But what does it mean over here, mechilta? Another brisa. What does the word mechilta actually mean? I know it's a book, but what's the... I think so. No, it's a source book. It's mechilta. I just don't know what the translation is. Machel means to hold, to contain. It must be say contains the brises. Okay. What does he say? Now Rashi points out that there's really no difference here between this and that. And when we read this, if you notice, there's a test from the Shita Mekubetzes. If you have that, we're going to have to read that in order to make it. We'll jump down to Shita as we read through this brisa when we get to that. It says Mesu, if the animals died, Bein Tmim Bein Bali Mumin, whether it's without blemish or whether it is with blemish, Yikbru, has to be buried. Who holds that? Yikbru. Who holds that it needs to be buried? Well, it depends what we're talking about. That's only by Bedek Habayis. Okay, that's the Rabbanan's opinion. And everyone would agree with that. Bedek Habayis needs to be buried. There's no redemption by Bedek Habayis. Both Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish hold, that the Rabbanan hold, that Bedek Habayis is no redemption if it died. Aval Bekachim.
Excuse me, I'm confused. Is it that it's not necessary or that it's not allowed?
It's not allowed.
They couldn't be evaluated. Remember the standing where the guy comes by?
It can't stand, so it can't be evaluated, even though it has some value.
Is it just what we're looking for? Is it just a procedural issue? Because it can't stand, so therefore we can't evaluate, or is it a holiness issue? Because it was holy, it can't be redeemed.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
If someone could prop it up, would it be evaluated?
No. It's based on the psukim. The pasuk says, the problem is that you have these words in the pasuk that says, Vehemed Aisel Lefnei HaKayin, Veherech HaKayin. You stand it in front of the Kayin, and the Kayin will evaluate it. The Gemara says this is going to be a problem if the animal's dead. Now, we have this whole discussion. Which case specifically is that referring to? Because you had two psukim there. Is it going back on the first pasuk? Is it only talking about the second pasuk? So there's different ways of reading. When you read the verses inside, you'll see why there's arguments about this. So, okay. First thing is, the Rabbanan hold that by Bedek Bais, it cannot be redeemed. The problem is that the Rabbanan hold by Kachim it can be redeemed. By Kachim Yiftu. Reb Shimon says, Tmimim Yikbaru. That sounds like Bedek Bais. No, maybe not. Balamumim Yiftu, no. Yeah, but Tmimim Yikbaru, Balamumim Yiftu sounds like Bedek Bais. Let's go down to the test. Yiftu, in the Shittim Mekabetzes. See the little, it's 3 lines from the test in the Shittim Mekabetzes. When does he say that you can redeem it? That's by Bedek Abayas. Aval b'kotche b'mizbeach, Tmimim yikbaru, u'balimumim yiftu. But by kotche mizbeach, you can redeem it. Now that's a problem. He doesn't hold that. It must be, how does he say Tmimim, that you can redeem it? It must be because it's a balmum meikara here. I guess what the Gemara is doing is it's saying that he has a clear Bais that actually spells it out. Okay. Now we say, Tiyufta de Rabbi Yochanan Miseifa. If you look at the end, it says that the Tanakama holds, Kachim Mizbeach Yiftu. If you notice, he said, Bamer Devarim Amurim in the brackets, B'Kachei Bedek Abayas, Aval B'Kachim Yiftu. Now that's a big problem. Because, according to Reish Lakish, that fits, that you can redeem a sacrifice that died, according to the rabbis. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, it doesn't fit. So Amalach Rabbi Yochanan says that that's talking about a Balmum Mikari. Mistabra makes sense to say that that's why you can redeem it. Reb Shimon should have argued on that, and he doesn't argue on that instance. So maybe say now it's back at Kashan Reish Lakish. Why doesn't Reb Shimon argue on that? So he learns it differently. Reb Shimon Allah, according to Reish Lakish, Liflik Reb Shimon Allah, why should Reb Shimon argue? Liflik Reb Shimon Allah. Oh, that's a big problem. We just answered Reish Lakish. According to, when is it possible to redeem a sacrifice that has a mum after it died? According to Rabbi Yochanan, only if the mum came before it was consecrated. That's the only instance, according to Rabbi Yochanan. And Reb Shimon agrees with that. So the silence of Reb Shimon about the way Rabbi Yochanan is going to learn the Bais is fine. But according to Reish Lakish, we have one other instance that you can redeem a sacrifice that has a mum even though it died. And that's according to the Rabbanan. He actually holds that the Rabbanan hold that. Problem is that Reb Shimon argues on that. So we were asking a question on the Brisa. Why did the Rabbanan say that you could redeem it? It's a sacrifice that died. So we said, according to Rabbi Yochanan, the mum came first. So Gemara says, okay, great. Reb Shimon doesn't need to argue on that. So and that's the proof. The fact that Reb Shimon doesn't argue means that the mum came first. What does Rish Lakish do? So Rish Lakish learns that the mum didn't come first, and the Rabbanan nevertheless hold that you're allowed to redeem it. That's the machlekes. The Gemara says, okay, so where's Reb Shimon? Reb Shimon argues on that. Why doesn't Reb Shimon argue? So Amalach Rish Lakish Achinami the Palag Reb Shimon. Rish Lakish responds, yeah, it's true. Reb Shimon does argue. I guess in the statement of Reb Shimon, it means it's included in there that he's arguing.
Wait, he's saying the mum didn't come before he died?
The mum didn't come before it was consecrated.
Before it was consecrated.
Consecrated. It's a difference in the consecration. Okay. Amalei Rabbi Yirmiyah or Rabbi Zera. Where's Chaim? Is he out of town?
Yeah.
He likes Rabbi Yirmiyah.
No.
Amalei Rabbi Yirmiyah or Rabbi Zera. Rabbi Yirmiyah, it says to Rabbi Zera, L'Reish Lakish, according to Reish Lakish. Damar L'Rabbanan Kachim Mizbeach Leihaya B'chlal Amad V'Aracha. According to Reish Lakish, that explain the Rabbanan's opinion. That any sacrifice does not need to be redeemed while it's alive. Uktani, and it was also taught. Kachim Mizbeach, sacrifices, Bali Mumim Yiptu, they could be redeemed. Umakminan law, and we've established this, B'shekadam Akdeshin Es Muman, where the mum came before, the consecration came before the mum. We read it like easy, there's very lenient opinion here. Shema Mina, whatever the case is, we see from here, Paidan Es HaKadshim, Lachilum L'Klavim, that you can redeem sacrifices to feed it to dogs. This was like an underlying theme of the whole discussion here, which we didn't spell this out. But if you can ever redeem a sacrifice after it dies, what are you going to do with the meat? You're going to feed it to the dogs. This was a big machlekes. Do you redeem sacrifices to feed the meat to the dogs, or do you only redeem a sacrifice to be able to eat it for human consumption? Gemara says, this whole business over here, when we said mesu, it died, that was the term that we were using. But we really meant to say that the person went and he slaughtered it. B'diavad, right. B'diavad means after the fact, but he went ahead and he slaughtered it where he wasn't supposed to be slaughtering it. So the food was kosher. Now the question is, can you sell this meat? B'shechted in a kosher butcher.
Kosher but can't eat it.
Kosher but can't, right, according to Rabbi Yochanan and according to Rish Lakish, you can. You redeem it. Kiddetanya was taught in a Bais. Kala kachim shenafel b'mum. Any kachim that there was a mum in it, v'shachtan, and then he went ahead and slaughtered it without redemption. Reb Meir Eimer Yikbru. Reb Meir holds it needs to be buried. Rashi points out that Reb Meir and Reb Shimon have the same opinion. Reb Shimon holds the sacrifice also needs to be buried. To make that clear, Reb Meir and Reb Shimon are both students of Rabbi Akiva. The Chachamim say no, yiptu, that you can redeem it. That's an interesting point. The Chachamim say you can redeem it. That's going to be a very strong question on Rabbi Yochanan. Why don't we mention that? Okay. Amle Rabbi Yirmiyah le Rabbi Zera. Rabbi Yirmiyah says to Rabbi Zera. It's another point. Rabbi Yirmiyah spoke before to Rabbi Zera. Now he says, Le Rabbi Shimon. According to Rabbi Shimon, we're going back to Rabbi Shimon's opinion. That things that were designated, that were consecrated to the temple, those don't need to be alive when they're redeemed. Why, if it's an animal without a mum, why does it need to be buried? You could redeem it. If he consecrated it for Bed Kabayas. My answer is Mishum Dechazal Akrava. The answer is because, yes, he consecrated it to Bed Kabayas. But if it's fit to be brought, then it absorbs more Kedusha than what he imposed on it, and it becomes into Kachim Mizbeach, and then you have the problem of that according to Rabbi Shimon, you can't redeem Kachim Mizbeach at the time. Kedetanya, as it was taught in a Braisa. Hanmatvis meaning lebedek Bais. If someone consecrates perfect animals that could have been sacrifices, but instead of consecrating them as sacrifices, we consecrate them to the temple fund. Kashem niftin, when they are redeemed, ain't a niftin melul mizbeach. They're only redeemed that the money will now go to the altar, not to the temple. Because it never goes back to the. Once it goes to the temple, it's never released from that. Amalei Rav Papa la Abaya. Barmila Rava. Barmila Rava. Maybe Lirava. What's the gimel? Lirava.
So Tmim can never be released. That's what.
Well, the problem is that once
released,
when it never goes out of them being going to the altar. That means even though he consecrated it to Bedek Abayas,
but it's not a real nifta.
No, it's nifta. But what do you do with the money after you sell the meat, right? What do you do with that money? Do you give it to Bedek Abayas like you originally consecrated, or do you give it to the mizbeach, which is where it went by default? It went because it was eligible to the mizbeach originally when it was consecrated, and now it goes to the mizbeach.
And he can't come back and say, no, that wasn't what I intended.
He can't come back because the animal it gets absorbed into that status.
So you're saying Christmas today?
Then you're late. Let's assume that you're.
Not assume that.
Let's assume that you're early for tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow?